one recurring topic on forums concerned with our modelling and on blogs and things is the use of an airbrush. I've been using one for quite a while now, and I thought I would do a couple of videos where I talk about some of the techniques you don't see mentioned a lot, a couple of the different things that come up when you're airbrushing, and also take the time to recover some of the basics, I guess, that I have some material on already, but that I think I can do better videos on now. So ostensibly this first video is going to be talking about masking. I can't stress enough the importance of masking well when you use an airbrush. Bleeds and overruns and things like that, they can ruin a good job. And masking is probably the single most time consuming part of airbrushing, and sometimes I will try and do this quite quickly. If you take a look at the side of this Land Raider here, I use pre-cut card shapes, and I will hold that over there and spray that edge, and then I'll just move it to there and spray that edge, and then I'll just spray that edge and spray that edge. But if you want to do a really neat job, you can't do that without using masking tape. So I'm going to mask up this side, but I've already done the other side, so I'll show you the result, and then I'll show you how we get there. So this is what a masked up vehicle looks like. I mean, when I say time consuming, you're probably only looking at 10 minutes here, but you've got to make sure that you get into the edges. You've got to make sure that you burnish this so that it gives you a neat result, and I've still got a little bit there I need to deal with. I tend to use decent quality masking tape. I use 3M, or I use the Tamiya thin, and the way I do it, the way I mask, because what you want is for things not to be very tacky. So if you just look down here at the desk, I have strips of masking tape laid out, stuck to the desk. I use these two tools, and I will sometimes go to this, but this is because I don't have decent tweezers, and this just allows me to grab and pull out small areas. But what I will do is I will eyeball the kind of size that I'm looking for. I'll cut a piece of tape, lift that piece of tape, place that up against the edge, get an initial adhesion, push that down in there. So a lot of this is done kind of with fingernails, and then just to burnish it up against the edges, I use the clay shaper. And repeat that across all of these edges, and then once you've done that, you look for any further gaps where you're likely to get overspray, and you block those in, just like I have here with this piece. And then once you've done all that, then you're ready to spray. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back to you. When it comes to thinning paint, that's a topic that's kind of discussed a lot. I have in the past used pretty much everything from just pure water to Windex to alcohol, and I've got to a place where I'm fairly happy with what I'm using, and I can thin consistently across a range of paints, and that's kind of important to me. I'm sure it's more alchemy than it is science, and I'm sure that you will find something that you enjoy and you can work with, and I'm just going to show you what I do. So I buy these things. They're shot glasses. They're like £1 for 40 in the supermarket, and I do have some model air paints, and they are very, very good, but I wasn't willing to abandon all the paints I have just for the sake of the airbrush, so it was important to me to work out how to thin paint. So I'm going to work with black today, and it's just a straightforward model colour black. And I'm going to put some into my mixing cup, and that's too thick to shoot. You could really crank up the pressure. You could make it fire, but it would dry very quickly on the tip. It would go lumpy. It's just not a good idea. So into that I put about an equal volume of thinner. Now this is essentially just acrylic medium, but it's quite thin acrylic medium, so it thins the paint down, but without kind of diminishing the pigment. And the trick is to not go too thin with your paint. Got a bit of a clogged nozzle here. Hold on a second. And that's just an old brush handle with a needle super glued in the end of it, which is useful for when you use a large dropper bottle, just to clear the nozzles every now and again. So there, I'm just going to grab a brush. I'm going to put a few drops of water in there, and that's water with flow aid already in it. Give it a mix. And I look at that, and that's about right to me. This thing they say about the consistency of milk, it's that. That's what you're looking for. You want your paint to run, but you still want it to have a volume of pigment in it that means you'll get coverage, but be thin enough to shoot. So check the airbrush out, so I'm going to turn the compressor on there. What I might end up having to do, depending on what the sound on the video is like afterwards, is take that sound down and record a separate voiceover, but we'll see how we go. So the first thing I do, I always make sure that my airbrush gets put away clean, but I always shoot just a little, just a drip or two of water before I paint anything, just to make sure that my trigger's free and I'm getting good paint flow, and that's fine. So I'll pour some of the paint into the cup. Don't fill the cup, because if you're making side to side motions you'll spill. Take a piece of kitchen roll. And that's just to make sure that I'm getting good paint flow. That's what you're looking for. Okay. So we go to work now. Clear this. Don't try to go to complete coverage in one shot. You'll put too much paint down, it'll be too wet, and you'll get spidering, and you'll get, let me show you what I mean. So if you fire too much paint too fast, you get this kind of thick, nasty layer. If I fire too quickly, you start to get the paint going everywhere. I'm actually struggling to make it spider. Spidering is if your paint's too wet or your pressure's too high, you'll start to see tendrils, kind of drips and rivulets running out from everything. I've got this kind of mixed right, so it's not happening. You see a second coat, and that's done. So I'm just going to blast through some of this. Okay. So now I just need to clean the airbrush. Take this colour out. So first things first, water pot. And just flush the bowl out. Okay. So you've got that reasonably clear. And then hold the tip and let air through, and you get a backwash. There'll be dried paint in there as well. You just need to loosen. So you're going to do that with the thumb and forefinger. Just to break up anything. But don't shoot that, because those will be particles. Just wash that, flush that straight out. You're looking at a fairly clean pan already. Now we're going to shoot clean through the nozzle, so you can see. Now if I was going to spray more, I could just put my next colour straight in there now. If I'm going to put the airbrush away down for a while, I will just run a little thinner through there. And that's what this thing is for. This catches some of the smell, some of the vapours from the thinner. You just lock that in there, just shoot that till it's empty. Give the trigger a bit of a back and forth, helps to clean the needle. And there you have it, one clean airbrush. And just every now and again you need to take things apart to clean them properly. But there we go. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a risk and do this on camera. If anything's wrong, you'll see it, and I'll be able to talk you through what I did wrong. So, loosen the tape. Okay, there is a tiny bit of bleed there. There's a couple of tiny spots of bleed, but I can sort those out in post, as it were. That's not too bad at all. I've had cheaper masking tape at this stage lift the paint from underneath that's already on there, so I'm a little bit wary when I'm peeling these surfaces, because I don't want that to happen. Okay, so there we go. Slightly wobbly edge there, that was my masking, but from a playable distance it looks fine. The rest of the base colours on, get the decals on, and then seal all that, and then proceed with the weathering. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to need to touch up just in there where I didn't have the tape burnished properly, and a little bit there. But other than that, that's quite a decent result.